Where can you get all of these progressive shows? The Young Turks post-game, aggressive progressives, old school, behind the scenes, damage report, no filter, rebel headquarters? Oh, right, by becoming a TYT member. Click the link in the description box below and you get all of that today.
In the midterm elections, there are a number of judges on the state level that either get elected or elected out. One of the judges that recently got elected out of the Houston courts is Judge Glenn Devlin. Now, he is a judge that oversees cases involving juveniles, and he is known as one of these tough on crime judges who loves to imprison juveniles for pretty much everything. So even if it is a small level or low level offense, it is likely in the past that this judge would give this juvenile offender some time behind bars in a juvenile facility, obviously. Now, after losing his bench in a Democratic sweep, Harris County Juvenile Court Judge Glenn Devlin released nearly all of the youthful defendants that appeared in front of him, simply asking the kids whether they plan to kill anyone before letting them go. So he knows he just got elected out. And his response to it was to basically just let everyone off. And then the public defender talked to the press about this and said he was releasing everybody. Apparently he was saying that's what the voters wanted. So he was being a little salty.
Oh, big time.
But I love this story. I love this story, not because I think everyone should be released or let go if they commit a crime, but because he and one other judge, both of whom are Republicans, were incredibly rough on these kids. Some of them had low-level offenses. They could have gotten community service or something. They're kids, they're juveniles. But instead, he would just go ahead and put them behind bars. And as a result, the juvenile prison population really exploded under his judgeship.
Yep.
Yeah, so first of all, this Devlin guy, I mean, has there ever been more appropriate thing to say than bitter man? Yeah. Right? I just noticed that every time I do bitter man, I do the guitar thing, bitter man. I guess that's what the voters wanted. No, they wanted justice, you schmuck. They wanted people who are dangerous to go to prison, and they wanted the appropriate level of justice depending on what the crime was, depending on what the age of the kid is. And they wanted some sense, common sense, and you know what, for you to exercise your judgment. And you proved them completely correct by now going in the opposite direction and showing terrible judgment. Before you were like, lock him up, okay, I'm gonna show him out, I'm gonna prove how tough I am. Forget about justice for the community and for the people that were in front of him and for the victims. And now, again, forget about the victims, forget about everything else. Oh yeah, let them all go. Man, no set of citizens have ever been more correct in an election than these folks here, because this guy's obviously not fit to be a judge.
No,
I couldn't agree with you more. He really just shows that he is not fit for the bench whatsoever. And then it shows in the article that he went out of his way to reschedule the hearing for all the cases to be the week that the new judge takes over his spot. So pretty much inundating her with hearings that day, and she's not even gonna have enough time to truly assess and evaluate what these cases are about. This man shows that he does not care about justice whatsoever, and just the way he handled all of his cases further shows that. I just don't know what job he's qualified to do, given how silly and petty and small he is.
Well, it's interesting because he and one of the other judges in the area seem to love putting these kids behind bars. And it reminded me of a story we did a very long time ago about this one judge that was caught getting kickbacks from juvenile detention facilities. He got caught. He actually ended up going to prison himself as a result of that. Look, and I don't know what this particular judge's motivations were. He might just be one of these tough on crime judges. But you have to keep in mind that when you're dealing with minors, you don't want criminality to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. They're kids. They have the ability to get rehabilitated. If it's a low-level offense, putting them in a detention facility is not gonna make the situation better. Oftentimes it could make the situation worse. And so who knows how many kids' lives were actually destroyed because they made one mistake and this judge thought, it makes all the sense in the world to put this kid behind bars.
Yeah, and so I remember the same guy. That guy was getting kickbacks from a private prison for however many kids he sent to the prison. Oh man, can you imagine anything grosser than that? Yeah. So it makes this Devlin guy look like a Girl Scout, you know, the other one that was so corrupt and getting paid for it. But in the case of Devlin, let's just also acknowledge that that these things that we're used to, that in a lot of ways the media celebrates, actually make no sense at all. Like, what does it mean to be tough on crime? So does that mean that you are not going to evaluate each case on its own merits, and that you're going to try to prove how tough you are by taking it out on the defendants? Like, it's like zero tolerance. Those things never make any sense, because what you're saying is, I am not going to use judgment. I'm just going to use a blanket policy, whether it fits the case or not. That's the exact opposite of what a judge is supposed to do.
And it really seemed like that all the judges that are juvenile judges in this particular court were doing just that. The fact that they all got voted out, they were all Republicans, and they're all going to be replaced by Democrats. And while it doesn't matter what party each judge is a part of, it kind of just speaks to the fact that the current judges in that place, as you know, just they happen to be Republicans, but they were not exercising good judgment, but they were just sweeping kids into the system. And as Anna said, ruining lives.
Yeah, lastly on this, I love this new trend. I mean, you know, we talk about, hey, the Democrats won the House, they won the House convincingly, but they didn't win the Senate, and where are we trending as a country, right? And Trump is still in charge. No, but pay attention to these local races. And there is a movement afoot here. A lot of the so-called tough on crime judges and prosecutors have been thrown out because people are sick of us spending a ton of money and wrongly imprisoning millions of people in this country based on ridiculous war on drugs and so many other laws that we have for minor offenses, or people who did tiny offenses but they need to have bail, but they're poor and they don't have bail. But if you're rich or you're even middle class and you do have enough money for bail, same exact charges, but one sits in prison for months, sometimes years, and the other one's free to go. And people are sick of it. They're sick of the injustice, and they're sick of paying the bills for over incarceration. And so they're throwing out these judges and going, no, we want prosecutors and judges to actually represent the whole community. And that's exactly what they're supposed to do in a democracy. Wesley Bell in Missouri, perfect example of it. McCullough did not represent the community, he represented the people in power. He's the guy who refused to do a fair trial of the cops who shot Michael Brown. He represented them as the defense attorney in a grand jury indictment, which is, he basically presented the defense, even though he was technically the prosecutor. And the community said, no, we want a prosecutor who represents us, and by the way, keeps us safe, all of us safe, right? And they elected Wesley Bell. Those elections are making a giant difference all across the country. Thanks for watching this free clip of the Young Turks. Don't forget to become a TYT member today. For more exclusive content, join now at tyt.com/join.